So, lads, this is not a great look for the Indiana Fever organization. If you've got Caitlin Clark, the star of the Indiana Fever, she's going and seeing whatever about not seeing the Indiana Fever's doctors. Like, it is what it is with that. It is what it is. Like, I think a lot of players and teams get second opinions. But if you haven't seen here, Stephanie White says there's no update on Caitlin Clark or potential timeline. She met with another doctor, but White says she hasn't spoken with the trainers.
The superstar who reignited basketball in Indiana has just made the boldest statement in WNBA history without uttering a single word. Caitlin Clark, the face of women's basketball and a proven Aaron Seller, on par with Taylor Swift, has reportedly gone silent with the Indiana Fever's medical staff following her recent groin injury.
Pretty much kind of leaked out the bag to the team that she was kind of going to get a second opinion. To me, an athlete like Caitlin Clark on her level, she should have been getting these second opinions. She should have been hearing from all these other doctors, man. But Stephanie White spoke to the media yesterday. She really didn't give a whole lot, but she did say that Caitlin Clark was in New York meeting with other doctors. Now, with all of that being said, what does the timetable look like to me for Caitlin Clark coming back? I keep telling y'all, around the 17th to the 30th of August.
And honestly, it's long overdue that someone holds this organization accountable for treating their once-in-a-generation talent like a background player in someone else's narrative. Here's what's really unfolding behind the scenes at Gainbridge Fieldhouse and why Caitlin Clark could already be laying the groundwork for a much earlier exit from Indiana than anyone saw coming.
She has met with a different doctor. And she won't even give an update to the team. Not, oh yeah, she's met with a different doctor and we're waiting on an update. She's waiting, or not even, well, that's basically it. They're waiting on, she's gone to a different doctor and they've heard nothing.
If you're enjoying this, make sure to subscribe. When Caitlin Clark limped off the court on July 15th against the Connecticut Sun, clutching her right groin in clear frustration, it wasn't just another injury, it was a tipping point. According to sources, this is shaping up to be a Kawhi Leonard-type situation, where a superstar loses all trust in their team's medical staff.
News: Caitlin Clark. Following a July 15th injury to her right groin, Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark underwent further medical evaluations earlier this week. The team can confirm that no additional injuries or damage were discovered through the evaluations. Clark will continue working with the Fever medical team on her recovery and rehabilitation, with the priority on her long-term health and well-being. There is no timetable available for Clark's return, and no additional details will be provided at this time. Any further updates will be shared as they become available.
Clark has now endured 4 separate muscle injuries this season: a left groin strain, a left quadriceps injury, and now a right groin strain. For a player who never missed a single game due to injury during her college career at Iowa or in her rookie WNBA season, this string of setbacks isn't just unfortunate luck. It's a troubling pattern that points directly to possible medical mismanagement.
But the internet noticed something specific that Holly Rowe had to say on the broadcast. Holly Rowe said that before the last return after a quad injury, she had no practice time, which, if that's actually true, like if she wasn't practicing, if she wasn't going full speed, then why was she returning to the court? And that's actually something that I pointed out. I believe it was Scott Agnes reported that Caitlin had gone full speed in practice, but there was only one practice that she had gone full speed, and then she returned to play.
The breaking point came when Clark was rushed back from her previous groin injury, only to re-aggravate it just a few games later. According to sources close to the situation, Clark made her stance clear to team officials. Asterisk, I'm getting my own doctors. I'm not using our doctors. She has since consulted with outside physicians and is now refusing to provide updates to the team's training staff.
Caitlin Clark's team has made it known we are going to be holding her out until she is fully recovered. We are not going to be rushing her back at all. After taking Indiana Fever's advice, eventually Caitlin Clark needs to take matters into her own hands, make decisions for herself, And I believe that's what we are seeing with the team that she now has surrounding her.
Let's take a hard look at the facts the Indiana Fever would rather you ignore. Caitlin Clark's injury timeline reads more like a medical crisis than a typical rookie season. On May 3rd, she set out the exhibition opener with left leg SORENESS. By May 26th, she missed the first official game of her career due to a left quad strain. In June, she was sidelined for 5 games with a left groin injury. Then, on July 15th, she suffered a right groin injury in the closing minutes against the Connecticut Sun, and by July 24th, the Fever announced there would be no timetable for her return with no additional details provided. In total, that's 11 regular season games missed, plus the Commissioner's Cup final. For perspective, that's nearly half the WNBA season lost to recurring soft tissue injuries that are typically preventable with proper conditioning, recovery protocols, and medical oversight.
The people were speculating that Caitlin Clark injury could be much worse than expected. You know, these type of injuries and the way she's been getting these injuries is not normal. To have these strains back to back to back like this, and I said this before, Caitlin Clark mobility is off, bro. I believe she might have came back too fast from the first. We all know the first one went down around the 25th of May. Then she came back and got re-injured around the 4th of July to the 5th, somewhere up in there of July, and then that brings us until now.
But here's where things take a revealing turn. Clark reportedly sought second opinions in New York without sharing the results with the Fever's medical staff. Even head coach Stephanie White admitted she hadn't spoken with the trainers about what Clark's outside doctors had found. When your franchise player starts making medical decisions independently, it's no longer just about an injury, it's about a complete breakdown in trust. When the Fever hired Stephanie White, fans believed they were getting an upgrade from Christy Sides. White came with strong credentials: 2023 WNBA Coach of the Year, a championship pedigree as a former Fever player, and a reputation for knowing how to win. But instead, they got a coach who seems more focused on fixing what was never broken to begin with.
The only good news about today is Caitlin Clark is no longer dealing with Stephanie White and these coaches and this Indiana Fever medical staff, trainers, doctors, none of that. She's seeing her own medical doctors, her own team. That's the only good news of today. She has abandoned the Indiana Fever medical staff, and I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it. She's pulling a Kawhi Leonard, what he did with the San Antonio Spurs, letting it be known, hey, look, I'll get back to y'all when I'm ready. I'm going with my own medical staff. Y'all can beat it, kick rocks, and I stand with you, Caitlin Clark.
Here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say out loud. Christy Sides knew how to utilize Caitlin Clark. Say what you will about her other coaching flaws, but she understood one essential principle: when you have a generational talent, you build the system around them. You don't force them to fit into yours. Sides let Clark be Clark. She gave her the ball, let her control the tempo, and watched the magic unfold. The results? A historic rookie season filled with record-breaking stats, a playoff berth for the first time since 2016, and packed arenas in every city they visited. Now contrast that with Stephanie White, who recently suggested Clark should play more off the ball and that the team needs to primary ball handlers. That mindset completely misses what makes Clark extraordinary. You don't take the ball out of Magic Johnson's hands just because defenses are tough. You don't sit Michael Jordan because he's being double-teamed. And you absolutely don't reduce Caitlin Clark to a role player just because your system isn't built to handle greatness.
The problem of this team is Stephanie White. It's Stephanie White. It's not Caitlin Clark. A great player don't all suddenly sucks. That doesn't happen. It's strategic. And everybody's saying that they played better without Caitlin Clark. No. Actually, even this loss, Caitlin Clark gives them a better chance. They're under 500 without Caitlin Clark.
The clearest sign yet of Caitlin Clark's frustration came after the Fever's July 22nd loss to the New York Liberty. Photos surfaced showing Clark and her agent in what looked like a private tunnel meeting with Liberty head coach Sandy Brunson and stars Breena Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu at Barclays Center. This wasn't your typical post-game chat. When your agent is present in a conversation with another team's coaching staff and franchise players, that's not small talk, it's business. The message was unmistakable. While the Fever fumbled the handling of their superstar, appear to be laying the groundwork for her future. Multiple sources confirm Clark has effectively cut ties with the FAV's medical team, opting instead to work exclusively with independent doctors. She's now consulting with specialists in New York and has reportedly refused to share any findings with Indiana's training staff. This level of medical independence is virtually unheard of in women's basketball and strongly echoes Kawhi Leonard's infamous split from the San Antonio Spurs. According to medical professionals, Clark's recurring groin and quad injuries point to one of two things: flawed conditioning programs or subpar rehab protocols. Either way, it's a glaring indictment of how the Fever have handled their most valuable asset.
But this is how it starts in sports. This is how it starts in the NFL. This is how it starts in the NBA. When you start seeing the wheels in motion, there's signs. There's signs before eventually a player gets traded. A player eventually marks their next destination. The Indiana Fever, you're on notice. You're on notice. You better recognize what you've got going on, the asset in front of you, and you do whatever you have to do to correct what is happening.
The fact that Caitlin Clark continues to suffer the same types of muscle injuries is a clear sign that the underlying issue has never been properly addressed. When Michael Jordan's legendary trainer raised red flags about groin injuries in elite athletes, it sparked serious conversations about whether Clark's medical team truly understands the physical demands of her unique playing style. And among experts, the verdict is unanimous. The Fever's approach to Clark's conditioning and injury prevention has been nothing short of amateur hour. Now, let's talk about what her absence really costs. When Clark is on the floor, the Fever are an entirely different team. This isn't just normal ups and downs, it's the direct result of a star player being rushed back from injuries and forced into a system that doesn't complement her strengths. Without Clark, the Fever are 4-6 this season, including recent games where they've looked passable, but nowhere near championship caliber. That's the line between making the playoffs and becoming a true contender. And it all hinges on one thing: keeping their superstar healthy and happy.
Out there, why Caitlin Clark was injured is a real thing. It's not just because she's a good player and people go hard against her. In my opinion, there's some other stuff going on there. A lot of pressure to put people in seats, to put eyeballs on the game. You come back a little early. Teams, as they should, play hard against her. Some teams go over the line and refs seem to look the other way. In my opinion, you had some of that going on with some other talent in the league as well last year. But this is different. And Stephanie White needs some blame as well. The team seems a little rudderless.
Here's the hard truth Fever fans may not want to face. Caitlin Clark doesn't owe Indiana a thing. She's already delivered sold-out arenas, record-breaking TV ratings, a long overdue playoff appearance, and millions in revenue. And what has the organization given her in return? A string of preventable injuries, constant coaching turnover, and a medical staff she no longer trusts. The Fever have shown they don't know how to build around a generational talent. They brought in a coach who seems more focused on minimizing Clark's impact than maximizing it. But Clark should be the system, not just a piece of it. She should have the ball in her hands 90% of the time she's on the court. The offense should flow at her tempo. Every roster decision should be based on how well players fit around her unique skill set. Instead, Stephanie White is trying to force Clark into her own rigid blueprint of basketball. And the results, they speak louder than words.
Remember Peyton Manning when he called his own plays? He said, Tony Dungy, you run the defense, I run the offense. That's what exactly needs to happen in Indianapolis. Caitlin Clark is literally Peyton Manning. She should be calling the plays. She should run the offense. And Stephanie White called the defense.
The most frustrating part of all this, Caitlin Clark is in her prime right now, at 23 years old. She's at peak athletic performance and has already shown she can dominate at the professional level. These should be the years Indiana is building. A championship. Roster around her, not fumbling basic medical care, and struggling to define a coaching identity. Every game Clark misses isn't just a setback, it's one step closer to her eventual exit. And make no mistake, other teams are already preparing for that moment. Teams with championship-level talent, proven coaching, and front offices that understand how to build around a superstar. Most importantly, they wouldn't waste Clark's prime years trying to reshape her into something she's not. They'd unleash her.
There is a WNBA team that have been very, very, very much in, like, they made it clear that they want Caitlin Clark, or they're eventually going to want Caitlin Clark. Along those lines, they made it very, very clear. And that team is the New York Liberty. I think there is a 50-50 chance Caitlin Clark leaves Indiana after her rookie season. No, after her rookie contract is up. Because
Clark's refusal to communicate with the Fever's medical staff goes far beyond her latest injury. Reflects a deeper pattern of mistrust and disrespect. It began when she was rushed back from earlier injuries and has only worsened under a coaching staff that doesn't seem to grasp how to use her effectively. When a player of Clark's caliber loses faith in her organization's most basic responsibilities, protecting her health and putting her in a position to succeed, not just a minor disagreement, it's a breaking point. The Fever have become so fixated on sticking to their systems and protocols that they've forgotten the golden rule of professional sports. When you have a once-in-a-generation talent, your top priority is doing whatever it takes to keep them healthy, empowered, and thriving.
Quote, "This is the first time I haven't felt like a young body that can run around and sprint every day and just continue to do that," Clark said in an event during All-Star Weekend per Glamour. Being a professional athlete, you really have to take care of both your body and your mind. It's been a journey learning about that.
Clark's body language says what her public statements won't. After her latest injury, she sat on the bench, visibly emotional, head covered with a towel, frustration written all over her face. She's now seeking outside medical opinions without involving the team's staff. She's holding private meetings with rival organizations. These aren't the actions of a player planning to stay long-term. Meanwhile, Stephanie White continues to talk about forcing Clark to play off the ball in her system. The medical team keeps losing her trust with every setback. And through it all, Clark is expected to risk her health for a staff she no longer believes in and carry an organization that clearly doesn't understand or appreciate what they have. Indiana is at a crossroads. They can either build around Caitlin Clark the right way or watch her take her generational talent somewhere that will. Because right now, they're doing everything possible to push away the best thing that's ever happened to the franchise. The clock is ticking. And Caitlin Clark's patience is just about gone.